Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to have you all here tonight.
Thank you.
I want to introduce myself. I'm Candace. I'm a social worker here, and I know that I've met everyone because we've talked on the phone, and I think through email for a couple of you. But it's really nice just to be able to finally put a face to your name and get to know you and start our group out. I'm really excited to be here, so I'd like for us to actually start out by facing our nerves, because I know that we're going to be talking about our anxiety and our recent cancer diagnosis. And so I'd like for us to confront that nervous, anxious feeling right off the bat and acknowledge its presence. I heard several of you talking before the group started about how anxiety is high tonight. So I would like for us to actually do a deep breathing exercise. Has anyone ever done one of those before?
Not really, no.
Okay. All right, well, I'll explain this a little bit, and if you feel comfortable, I'd love for you to come along and do this exercise with us.
Okay.
You can do it right where you're at. You can do this anytime, any place. All that you need to do is just find a comfortable position. And I typically like to put my feet on the floor and kind of rest my hands in my lap. And if you feel comfortable with it, you can close your eyes and just take a deep breath in. And then just slowly let it out. And another deep breath in. And slowly let it out. And one more time, a deep breath in. And just let it out. And when you're comfortable, you can open your eyes and come back in and join the group. How did that feel?
Good.
It's nice.
Feels good.
Okay. Well, like I said, we are all here to acknowledge a recent cancer diagnosis. There may be very different areas of the body that's involved here, but we all have heard those words at some point, and it's been fairly recently, and anxiety is a huge component when you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis. So I would like for us to have a little bit of an icebreaker and kind of get to know each other on a personal level. This kind of encourages us to learn how to look at each other in the eye when we're talking to each other and really connect on a personal level that you might not feel comfortable just yet at that group level. So I'm going to ask you if you would divide up into pairs, or what we call dyads. And so if I can have maybe the two of you work together and maybe the two of you work together. And I would like for you to introduce yourself. And then I would want for you to share something that contributes to your anxiety and something that helps to relieve your anxiety. Okay, so go ahead, and then when you're done, just sit back and relax, and we'll come back together as a group.
Do you want to start?
Sure. I think
Hi,
something
Lindsay.
that causes anxiety is
Something
just
that
getting my
contributes to my
diagnosis,
anxiety
just
would
worrying
be
about that.
Okay.
like
What
going to the
else
doctor's
did she
office
say?
is really stressful for me.
Something that relaxes.
Relaxes.
And something that
I
makes
would
me feel
say
better is spending time with
spending
my
time
kids
with
and my
my
family.
family.
Okay.
I'm Jessica.
I'm Martin,
I think it's funny that you
and
said
the
doctor's
thing
office
that
because
really stresses me
when I'm in the
out
waiting
is
room, I get really
provokes me a
anxious.
lot
I'm
of
trying to
anxiety.
just waiting, no one
Thinking about the
doing
moment when
anything.
I have to tell to
Also,
my
yeah,
kids. I
I
have two
my
kids.
family that really
So we're the
About
same.
my
That's
my
nice
cancer.
to know.
Yeah.
Nice
And
to
the
meet
thing
you.
that relaxes me a lot is to play with them soccer. I mean, to be around them.
So it looks like we're all back together in a group. So I would like to go around and have you introduce the dyad partner that you were paired up with, and just share with the entire group what their name is and the two different questions that we discussed briefly, okay? So if you don't mind, Lindsay, can I start with you?
Yeah. This is Jessica, and she said that the thing that is the most anxious for her is for when she's in the doctor's office. And we both kind of resonated with that we both struggle with like waiting rooms and things like that. And I'm sorry, I'm so nervous that I can't even remember what the other question was. I'm sorry, it's just a lot.
That's okay. Do you mind helping
Yeah.
remember and
It
fill in?
was the relaxation, right?
What helps to decrease the anxiety?
So it's just spending time with family, and we had the same thing. So right, yeah.
Okay. And I just want to just pause for a moment and acknowledge that you are nervous, Lindsay, and I
Yeah.
absolutely understand why this is a very new situation.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering, are there other people in the group who can identify with this feeling of
Yeah.
being nervous?
Mhm.
We're talking about anxiety anyway, and we
Mhm.
have this diagnosis that's kind of always right here in the back of our mind.
Yeah.
And so I would like for you to just kind of take a look around and understand that there are some folks here with you. And I we'll come back to that in a moment because you're a step ahead of where I was going because I was actually going to check in and see where everybody's anxiety
Okay,
was in
yeah.
just a minute. So we'll come back to that, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Jessica, can you introduce?
Yeah, Lindsay, as you said. And we actually had the same thing. Just making her anxious is going to the doctor, and spending time with her family helps her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of crazy how we experience that same thing.
Very similar symptoms.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you for sharing and introducing each other. Olivia?
This is Martin, and one thing that causes anxiety with him is having to tell his children about his cancer diagnosis, and one thing that relieves the anxiety is spending time with his children.
Yeah, and she's Olivia. The thing she relaxes the most, the thing is the family.
Mhm.
And the other thing, I don't
Just worried about my diagnosis.
worry about.
So I'm hearing a lot of similarities. So there's family concerns and enjoying being a family. Let's go around the circle just for a moment. I would like to find out where everyone's anxiety is right now, just as we sit right here together, on a scale of 1 to 10. And 1 means there's very little to no anxiety at all, and 10 means that it's really bad anxiety. This is the worst type of anxiety ever that you've experienced. And so just right now in this moment, not earlier today or last week, but in this moment, where are you all at? And so is it okay if I start with you
Sure,
again?
no problem. Right now, I think I'm at like a 9. This is really new for me. I get anxious easily, and I've never really like come out about my diagnosis yet. It was very recent. It's been like 2 weeks.
Okay.
So taking this step is a really big step. So it's making me nervous.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Open.
Yeah.
And also being brave enough earlier just to say,
Yeah.
time out for one moment. I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Okay. Jessica, where are you at on the scale?
I'm pretty anxious. I'm probably like an 8.
Okay.
I struggle with it a lot, and just being here with people I don't really know is just kind of making me even more nervous. That
I see heads
Yeah.
nodding. So
Yeah.
I think there are other people who are feeling those. So. Okay, so you're at an 8. And then Olivia, where are you at?
I would say an 8. I'm just really anxious about coming to the group for the first time and wondering if everybody feels the same way that I do, or am I different?
Okay.
I think I'm feeling around 6. I'm not feeling much bad.
Okay. Thank you for all being open and honest. I'd like to express what the purpose of this group is about. This is a therapeutic group, and so it's set up a little bit differently than other support groups that are peer-led. I'll be bringing information to you, and we'll be doing exercises together. The exercises will be the type of information that you can take home with you and you can utilize to help your anxiety. So I will be coming in, my role as your facilitator will be to ask questions and to pry a little bit deeper as to, what did you exactly mean by, let's talk about that. Is anyone else experiencing that? What do we do? What's worked? What hasn't worked? Just to explore those types of issues and items. This is a safe place for you to express your feelings and your reactions. I'd like for you all to know that. Those things are welcomed here, and part of my role as your facilitator is to engage some group rules, and so one of those rules will be always respect for each other and confidentiality. And so what happens here and is said here needs to stay here. And so I would ask you that you not identify anyone. If you were to be enlightened and want to share, well, hey, I learned this great breathing exercise. Please don't share, but so-and-so taught us how to do it, or talked about it, worked, or, leave those identifying factors out. Also, though, with confidentiality, are y'all familiar with that word, confidentiality? I know that everyone gets the confidentiality statement at the doctor's office.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everyone's been to the doctor's office many times lately. But it's a little bit, a different concept in this type of setting. We don't discuss things outside of this group. But also, as a social worker, I am required to report things if I know of someone being abused, a child, elderly person, a disabled person being harmed in any way, or if anyone expresses that they would like to harm themselves or someone else, that is something that I need to report as a mandated reporter. So, does anyone have any questions about that?
I kind of have a little, it's kind of related, but is this group open to anybody? Because I'm kind of worried that that could cause confidentiality to be kind of messed up.
That's a very good question. I'm really glad that you asked. This is now a closed group. So what that means is there were certain people who were invited to this first night, and now everyone who is here is who will be in this group moving forward, and the group will take place over the next 6 weeks.
Okay.
So the people that are sitting here in this circle are the same people who will be invited again and again and again, and we will not be accepting any new
That makes
members.
sense. Yeah.
So it does kind of bring a sense of being able to disclose and open up and share
Mhm.
about things, and rely on the support
Yeah.
from one another as you get to know each other. Does anyone have any questions about my role as your facilitator?
Can we add a rule about, it's basically about respect. I'm the kind of guy who's gonna be easily convinced by the phone to check it and to write, to text. So
Okay.
I'm trying to not do it in here, but so maybe we can add it
Okay.
as a rule.
So a cell phone, no cell phone rule? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah.
Okay. What does the group think about this rule?
Yeah. Sure. I think that's good.
Everybody in agreement to that? Okay, I absolutely think that's a great rule. I will write that in. It will follow right after respect and confidentiality. Okay. So let me just note that right here. One of the biggest needs that this group has starting off, and I'd like for you to identify this early on and move forward with it. The need here is not only for me to be here, because I'm a very small part of this process. This is very much about the four of you. But a big need here is for all four of you to come and be open and be honest and participate. And I've seen that participation already in all of you, and I love that. But I'm wondering, is that a commitment that each one of you can make to myself, to yourself, to each other? That
Yeah.
when you come, you'll be open and honest and work together. Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. So before we move into our rules, because I'm actually going to have the four of you write any additional rules. Okay. My only rules that I bring to the table is respect and confidentiality. So, but I want to review that we will be meeting every Wednesday. Like we discussed, it'll be 6 weeks long. Okay. But every Wednesday at 7 p.m. moving forward. And it'll typically run an hour long. Now today is a little bit different because today is the initial session. And I recognize that you guys need to come in and meet each other and have some coffee and kind of warm up to each other, because we're going to be talking about some pretty heavy emotions. So, but typically it'll be an hour long. And so that's kind of the structure. We'll come in, we'll sit down, and we'll get started and get going. And if someone has something that, like, you might be expecting a phone call or something, an emergency call, just let me know. And I absolutely agree with you that if cell phones are out and around, they can be a distraction. So, okay, so moving then into rules. Are there any other rules that anyone would like to contribute to the group?
I was just wondering about I know I want to be part of the group, but at the same time, like I have things to do afterwards, like appointments and stuff. So I'm wondering if we're gonna be out like at a specific time or how that's gonna work.
Yes, absolutely. We're going to be out. Like I said, we're going to run about an hour. And I respect, it's a respect issue also. I respect that y'all are going to get here. We're going to get started on time. We're going to spend an hour. And then moving forward after that hour, we're going to leave and you're going to step back into life, as you know. So I appreciate that clarification, though. That's a good question. Okay, so I would like for us to do a round quickly to look at what you expect from this group. Now that we have an idea of what the structure of it looks like, what I'm going to be doing, what you all committed to doing, what will your expectations be? And your expectations are what helps me to pull together the information and bring it the next week. And so this is a very important step because I want for the four of you to decide what's needed and what's wanted and what's desired. I don't want to just bring something that you feel is not valid information where you're at in life. Okay. So I'm going to start with Martin over here. I'm going to change it up. Can you tell me what your expectation of the group is?
Yeah, as I think that I need some ways to approach my kids, and I think that I'm gonna get them here. So it's
Okay.
to approach them and to say like, maybe I'm gonna die. So it's hard. Those are my expectations.
So do your children know about the diagnosis?
No.
So don't know?
My wife only.
Are there any other expectations that you have at this time?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
Mhm.
Olivia?
I think that learning some new coping skills while I'm in this group would be very beneficial. And the breathing exercise, that seems to help too.
Can you think of anything else at this time?
Not at this time.
Thank you. And then Jessica?
Yeah, I guess I expect, like, I don't know, finding some way to be able to talk to my brother better because he's just so ridiculous. Like, sometimes we'll get in this fight and, like, he just doesn't understand how I'm feeling. Like, he'll try to place feelings on me and tell me how I'm
Jessica,
feeling.
I'm going to stop you right there, okay?
Okay.
What I'm focusing on right now is what's important to you. And I hear that your brother and that relationship is an important factor to you. But right now I need to know what's at the core of your heart, what is most important for you to gain from this group. And we might put communication with your brother further down the list. It might be like number 2 or 3 or 4. But what would be number 1 for you?
Yeah, I guess it really isn't priority. I guess more of a priority for me would be just finding out ways that I can talk to my family in general because most of them don't even know yet, and I'm really scared of it. So I guess that's why I kind of had that outburst. But yeah.
So, if I may then dig a little bit deeper with that, you said most of your family doesn't know yet.
Yeah.
Who in your family?
Only my parents.
Your parents.
And I have 5 siblings, so none of them know. Except, of course, my brother, but
Okay.
yeah, he doesn't live with my family. So my family, my siblings that actually live in my household don't know.
Okay. And just so that we all know and understand the relationship with your brother a little bit better, is that relationship a very close, tight relationship that you have with him, or
Not really. I guess that's why it was easier for me to tell him.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sure all of you have noticed I'm taking some notes. These notes are kept confidential, but they help for me to follow along with where you're at and with what is most important to you, because each scenario of your life is very different and very important. So I just want you to know what these notes are about. Okay? Okay. So you said that relationship with him is distant.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other expectations you'd like to share at this point?
I don't think so.
Okay. Thank you. Lindsay, do you have any
Yeah.
expectations?
I guess for me, it's more just like having time to like take care of myself because I get so caught up in life and worried about my kids and what's gonna happen to them if I'm not around, and if my husband needs to work, and so if I'm not around, it's gonna be really bad. So I get so caught up in that sometimes I forget to take care of myself in the process. So just learning tools to be able to do that will be helpful.
Okay. Do you have any other expectations at this point you'd like to bring up?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. So I'm hearing some similarities again, once again, right here. We're talking about coping skills and taking care of yourself. Those are one and the same most of the time. And again, you're bringing up your family, and then you're bringing in your family, and Martin, you're bringing in your family. And so I'm wondering, with 3 out of the 4 having mentioned family, is family a factor also then, Olivia, that
It
you're
is.
thinking of with those expectations? Okay,
It
so
is.
so that's just a very neat commonality to realize as we sit here. There are other people who are walking a very similar road, not the same road, but a very similar road, who have the same types of goals.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do next is for us to move into an activity. And I will pass this around. I'll give you, let me just pass this little guy. And he can be a girl too. He just looks like a guy there. And I'm going to pass the markers, but the markers are very special markers because we have all different colors in here. And I would like for you to pick out a marker that reflects the color of any kind of physical pain or emotional pain, including anxiety, that you may be experiencing. And then, once you've chosen a color that represents that, mark on your sheet where you feel this pain or this anxiety, okay? And it can be physical or emotional, again. So I'll let you choose. And then I'm going to let you pass it around.
Okay.
And if you want to just go ahead and get started on that when you choose your marker. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing all different colors. I like this. It's very interesting. Let's see, where do I want to start now? Jessica, can I start with you?
Yeah.
Can you share with us what your drawing is a reflection of?
So this is just a green, which kind of represents like a sick feeling for me. Not to be gross, but it kind of reminds me of vomit a little bit. So I basically feel just really, when I get anxious, I feel really tense in my stomach, almost like I'm gonna throw up. So that's what happens for me.
And how quickly can you identify that physical feeling after the emotional feeling has happened? Does that make sense? Is my question?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really almost immediate.
Okay.
Like, as soon as I feel the anxiety, I feel it in my stomach, so.
So it's a strong connection then between
Yeah.
the two. Okay. Cool. Thank you for sharing. Lindsay?
This is mine, and I have like the blue in my head because I'm kind of feeling like all up in arms. Like I feel like my life is just crazy, and I don't know how to handle it. So my head just wants to explode, and I feel blue in my heart too, as in like I'm just sad. It's just a really hard time for me.
So we have blue, and then there's blue over here.
Yeah, I have blue too.
Okay. Would you like to share with us what your
Yeah, maybe this is more a physical symptom, but when I tried to approach my kids twice, I I tried and I became like sweating my hands, like wow, a lot
yeah.
of like sweating at my feet and then my forehead. So it's more physical, but emotional is like my heart just breaks down.
Okay. So I want to just compliment everyone. You're all looking at each other when folks are talking, and Lindsay, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, please, with our group rule to leave our cell phones down and away for this hour. I'd like
Right.
to
I'm sorry, I
just
don't.
ask you to
Sorry,
go
let
away.
me
Come
just-
on.
Sorry about that.
But I wanted to notice, and Lindsay, yours was, did you tell me it was an emotional
Yeah,
feeling? Okay.
emotional feeling, yeah.
And then I can't, I'm sorry, I can't remember, did you say that it was physical at all, or?
No, I didn't
Okay.
mention that, but I do feel physical. as
Okay,
well, yeah.
okay. So I'm noticing there's the emotional that
Mhm.
Jessica and Lindsay is experiencing, and then Martin, you added in that you had some emotional
Yeah, my
feeling
heart
also.
is like
And so you also
I-
pointed out though a physical feeling.
yeah,
So-
I only the physical feel.
So then, Lindsay, how quickly between the onset of that anxiety is it before you feel the emotional, like the actual, can you identify it, I guess is what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say.
I guess like it's easy for me to just kind of like see it as normal, but when I actually think about it is when it just gets to a point where it's so much. Like I can't handle like my kids, like I can't handle the stress of what's gonna happen to them and my
Okay.
family, and so the weight of everything kind of overtakes me.
Okay. Okay, so that's good for us to recognize that each person is a little bit different from what I'm hearing, Jessica and Lindsay.
Mhm.
It's almost an instant, it's almost a, when I'm really overwhelmed, and then for you, Martin, when is it that you start to realize, okay, this anxiety has occurred and now my palms are sweating?
Mm.
How long does that take?
A couple of seconds, I think, because the other day I called my kids and I was right there about to tell them, and I felt that the hands, and then I felt like my heart like beating so fast, and so it's almost immediately
So
like
it's
her.
almost,
Yeah.
that's very, very interesting for us to note then. Olivia, can you share with us what's on your drawing?
Yes, I used red, and I just have awful headaches, and my shoulders hurt and burn. In my chest, I have palpitations, and I have an upset stomach, and I just feel like sometimes that, nobody else can be as bad as I am. They can't be in worse shape than I am. That I'm probably the worst one of the bunch. I just feel kind of alone sometimes and think,
I'm interested in that thought that you're having. Has anyone else here had that same type of thought?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you might be
Yeah.
alone, you might be the worst case. Am I
worst
accurate?
case scenario.
Worst
Mhm.
case scenario.
Mhm.
So y'all have felt that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Olivia, I want to encourage you that I have met with many, many, many people who have dealt with anxiety and who also have dealt with anxiety coupled with a cancer diagnosis. And especially in the beginning,
Mhm.
it feels very overwhelming. It feels just like this huge mountain before you. But if you'll continue to come and you'll continue to work hard, we're going to visit some coping skills that you can take away from here. You can do it in the grocery store line, you can do it in the doctor's office, you can do it when you're having those tough talks with your kids, and it will help to to relieve that anxiety if you find what will work for you and then you use it. And that was why I was very interested and asked, how long is it from that anxiety trigger to that moment that you realize, oh, this was tough. So that's something that's good for you to know about yourself.
Mhm. Thank
So I
you.
want to encourage you, yeah. it's something that we'll all work through together and we'll all gain new skills. Okay.
I just had a question. I know you mentioned that you kind of understand like what we're going through as far as like the physical symptoms and everything. I mean, but how are you even able to tell us all this? Have you even gone through anything that's similar? Like we are going through cancer. Like how are you able to do a group when you don't even know what that's like?
I totally know where you're coming from, and I think I've asked other people that question myself before. So a little bit about myself. I have not shared this because I want this group to be about y'all. Okay, but since you've asked, a little bit about myself. I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer 2.5 years ago, and my father was recently diagnosed with cancer. And so I walked through the experience of having cancer, even though it wasn't a terminal cancer, and it wasn't a cancer that was terrible, horrible, very, very bad cancer. It was still a cancer diagnosis that, whenever we hear the C word, it just brings up anxiety. Mm-hmm. And so I walked through that road. I had surgery. There will always be medication changes in my life. And so I think medication is one thing that we almost become kind of immune, that's just going to be a part of life sometimes, especially when we've experienced something like cancer. In addition to my personal experience and my experience of being a daughter to, my father experiencing cancer, I also have training through my master's degree that I obtained, and that taught how to facilitate groups and how to talk with people and counsel with folks, and also how to research information and talk to people who are, just wealth of knowledge about certain topics that I may not know about yet. And so that's why when things come up, like I asked if you ever have expectations or if something comes up you'd like for us to talk about, let me know. I can go back and do some research if I don't already know some stuff. And I can do some research if I already know some stuff and need to know a lot more. And I can also track some folks down that I know who might know. And then I can bring that back. So that
makes me feel better. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Absolutely. So we just have a couple more minutes left for tonight, and I would like for us to do something that I call take and leave. So with take and leave, I would like for you to take a moment and think about what is something beneficial that you've learned tonight, or that you've gained tonight, and what is something that maybe you need to leave here that's not helpful for you. And then when we come back as a group, in just about 30 seconds or so, you can share what you're going to take and what you need to leave. So, let's see, who have I not picked on? Olivia? Can I start with you?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. What would you like to share with the group that you will take from tonight that was good?
I think it was very good for me to hear that I'm not alone and I have a lot in common with the other group members, and I'm not in the worst shape. Take that with me, and what I'll leave is I'll leave some of my anxiety and worry.
Where are you at right now on your anxiety scale from 1 to 10?
I think I was an 8 when I got here, so I would say about a 5.
Is
skills, and we'll try to leave some of it here.
Absolutely. Okay, Jessica, what would you like to take that's positive from tonight and leave that might not be beneficial for you?
I really like the breathing that we did, the exercise in the beginning. I think I'm going to take that with me and use it because it really helped me.
Okay.
And then I want to leave my anxiety about telling my family. I really want to try. I know that I'll still be anxious at some point, but I'm going to try to leave as much of it here as I can.
And what number are you on your anxiety scale from 1 to 10?
I think I was pretty high, like an 8 or so. I'm also probably around like a 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really helped to be in the group and talk about it. So.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And Lindsay?
I think what I want to take from today is like what Olivia said, that like I'm not alone and that other people are like me. And something that I want to leave here is my feeling responsible for other people. And like I need to be able to learn that it's not a bad thing to take care of myself. So
Your self-care is very, very important.
Yeah.
That will be one of the future topics that we discuss. And where are you at on your anxieties?
I think I'm at like a 7 now. So
Okay.
I'm down a little.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Martin?
Something I want to take is like I felt like some kind of support from the members of this group. So I want to take that because, as they say, we are not going through this alone. So that is encouraging. And what I need to leave is my bad thoughts about future and the worst scenario for my kids. So I think I need to leave those behind.
And where are you at on your anxiety scale?
I came with a 6, I think. I was at
You're
that
a
moment.
6.
I think I'm around a 4.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So just to briefly summarize, we met together tonight and we discussed what this group is going to look like, the structure of it, our rules. Y'all made some great rules. No cell phone, respect, and confidentiality. And if there's ever a rule that comes to mind that you'd like to add, we can add them to the list. And we'll talk about it as a group, and if we all agree, it'll go on the list. And so we met together, you know, very, very nervous. We had high anxiety scales, and now at the end, everyone's come down at least a couple of points. I mean, it's amazing. And like Martin said, people have been able to make connections that there's other folks feeling the same way that people are feeling, and we're not alone. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to contribute tonight before we close? No? It's been wonderful meeting with everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.